short months, we went from worst to best.
President Trump with harsh words for the previous administration. The key points in his address to the nation and how Democrats are pushing back against his claims. Then a spike in flu cases here in the Bay Area. The cities are seeing the highest cases and what you can do to help protect yourself and others. Then San Francisco's Mayor Daniel Lurie reflecting on his first year in office, his early victories, and what he says about the work that still needs to be done.
From KTVU Fox 2 News, this is Mornings on 2.
Good morning. Welcome back. I'm Gaskia Mikhailian.
I'm Andre Sr. Today is Thursday, December 18th. We've got fog, again, low clouds. What's up with the rain? We're going to find out. Devin Truby, she is here this morning with an update on the forecast. Good morning to you, Devin.
Well, good morning, Andre. We've been saying fog for so long, right? Like almost 3 weeks. We're tired of it, but unfortunately, here again, the dense fog advisory, part of our day today. Visibility was down to about a quarter mile in some parts if you already headed out the door. It does give us, though, this very beautiful sunrise as we see the fog, cloud coverage kind of starting to play in, the nice golden hues. What a pretty picture as some of you are sipping your coffee. Current temperatures outside 51 in Oakland, 53 in Concord, 52 in the city. Went ahead and highlighted the areas in gray impacted by the dense fog advisory that's in effect until 11 a.m. So another late day burn off, unfortunately, before we get to those mostly cloudy skies. Visibility still a half mile in Santa Rosa. That has been persistent all morning long. Hayward, a little less than a mile also if you're making that 880 commute. Let's be mindful of that one. Speaking of commute, the man who knows all, Mr. Sal Castaneda, here with our update.
All right, Devin, thank you very much. We do have a typical delay at the Bay Bridge this morning. I want to show you that traffic is backed up this morning to the maze. It's about a 20-minute delay. It's not unusual here for it to be this way. And if you drive every day, the thing you hate, of course, are surprises. And there are no surprises reported at the Bay Bridge, although, as you heard Devin say, it's a little bit foggy out there. Interstate 880 north and southbound here past the Coliseum look all right. San Mateo Bridge is crowded. But again, the fog may get your attention out there. As we look at the East Bay grid here, you can see slowing on the Altamont Pass, but the rest of the freeways are just beginning to wake up, so to speak. 7:02, let's get back to the headlines.
Sal, thank you much. Cases of winter viruses are spiking across our region. Wastewater data shows evidence of rising rates of seasonal flu cases, especially in the South Bay. KTVU's Allie Rasmus is live with a look at the maps that detail the health concern. Allie?
Yeah, that wastewater data is based on a Stanford University public health tool called Wastewater Scan. It tracks diseases through the wastewater that comes through water treatment plants here in the Bay Area. And based on their info, the rate of influenza A, or seasonal flu, is high. The areas highlighted on this Bay Area map we're showing you are some of the hot spots. They include San Jose, Palo Alto, Fremont, San Francisco, and then parts of the North Bay from San Rafael to Vallejo. California Health Department data confirms that spike in flu cases, with the number of positive tests reported in the Bay Area alone nearly doubling in just 1 week after Thanksgiving. So the advice is to get your flu shot now. Medical professionals agree this vaccine does offer protection against the most severe effects of the flu. Last year's flu season was the worst in more than a decade, with the highest rate of hospitalization since 2010. That was the year, you'll recall, of the H1N1 or swine flu outbreak. Flu season usually peaks in early spring, so there's still time to get vaccinated. Another seasonal virus health officials are tracking is norovirus, commonly known as or referred to as stomach flu. Wastewater data sampling also showed an increase in norovirus cases here in the Bay Area, although in the past week, the numbers have started to level off. Even though it's uncomfortable and can lead to 24 hours of vomiting and stomach upset, norovirus for most people does not lead to hospitalization, although children and the elderly can become dehydrated. Now, as for norovirus, there is no vaccine for that. Doctors say the best way to protect yourself is by washing your hands frequently for at least 20 seconds at a time, and they warn that hand sanitizer with norovirus doesn't quite do the trick. There's no substitute for hand washing in that case. Back to you.
Allie, thank you so much. Time now 7:04. President Trump defended the first year of his second term in office during a speech to the nation. He praised his administration's agenda last night and its economic policy. His address comes ahead of next year's midterm elections. Despite his optimistic tone, a new poll shows nearly 3/4 of voters still rate the current economic conditions fair or poor.
President Trump can say whatever he wants on camera, But the reality is, for Americans across the country, that costs are up, unemployment is rising.
Under the Biden administration, car prices rose 22%, and in many states, 30% or more.
President Trump said high prices are not his fault, using a number of charts and graphs to place blame on his predecessor.
The U.S. government now admits an air traffic controller and an Army helicopter pilot played a role in a collision that caused 67 people to die. The crash between an airliner and a Black Hawk helicopter happened over the Potomac River in Washington, D.C. last January. It was the deadliest plane crash on American soil in more than 2 decades. The government's lawyers said in a filing, the United States admits that it owed a duty of care to plaintiffs, which it breached, therefore approximately causing the tragic accident. The NTSB will release its full report on the cause of the crash early next year.
A vehicle struck a pedestrian in San Francisco, and the driver did not bother to stop to offer help. It happened last night at Mission and Gutenberg Streets in the Crocker Amazon neighborhood. Police say a driver hit a pedestrian and that person died at the scene. Right now, we have no information about the victim and no arrests have been made. If you have any information, call San Francisco Police. San Francisco is increasing efforts to crack down on sideshows. New rules just signed into law will increase penalties on sideshows. Fines increase from $500 to $1,000 for misdemeanor offenses. A sideshow popped up in the city last weekend. It was the first since September, when police used drones to help seize 6 dirt bikes and an ATV.
We got kids and seniors walking across the street, and it felt like things were out of control. And what I want everybody to hear is, we're on it. SFPD is working diligently to enforce these laws.
While there are stiff consequences for sideshow participants, watching them remains a gray area. In September, the 9th Circuit ruled an Alameda County law restricting spectators is likely unconstitutional.
San Francisco's one step closer to providing reparations to Black residents. The Board of Supervisors voted unanimously this week to establish a reparations fund. There's no money allocated to it yet. Funding is expected to come from donations by individuals, foundations, businesses, and communities. Use of the money would be subject to an approval process and oversight. The money is meant for people who've experienced or who have descendants of people who are descendants of people who've experienced proven harm in the city. Meanwhile, San Francisco Mayor Daniel Lurie is reflecting on his first year in office, telling our Christian captain it's been a transformational time and that he remains focused on public safety and the city's drug crisis. The mayor also says there's more work to do.
And I will well and faithfully discharge the duties.
Mayor Daniel Lurie was sworn in as San Francisco's 46th mayor in January, promising to address crime and street conditions in the city. Now, as 2025 draws to a close, the mayor said there has been significant progress addressing crime.
As you know, it's down 30% citywide. It's down 40% in Union Square since we started the Hospitality Zone Task Force, where we added officers on a dedicated beat in Union Square.
The mayor said there's also been progress on street conditions, with a 44% decrease in encampments, a 40% increase in shelter placements, and 500 new treatment and recovery beds.
I'm not here to say that we don't have challenges, because we do, and I get frustrated just like every other San Franciscan. We have momentum, we have a lot of work to do, but we're going to be relentless in getting our streets safe, clean, and getting the people that are struggling with addiction off and into the right kind of care.
On the economic front, there are glimmers of hope, with an increase in convention bookings and record-breaking Thanksgiving holiday travel at San Francisco International Airport. The mayor said the city is still working to boost business in the downtown.
We have a lot of focus on downtown, but all of the things that we're doing, first year free, vacant to vibrant, all of these other things are also helping not just downtown recover, but our neighborhoods.
The mayor said this last year has been a steep learning curve with some notable missteps, most prominently the appointment of Bea Alcaraz to fill a vacant Board of Supervisors seat. Supervisor Alcaraz resigned after a week in office after revelations about her business and taxes surfaced. The mayor said he was mistaken for not making sure she was ready for the job, and that it helped inform him on how to find her replacement, Alan Wong.
If I make a mistake, which I will make more of, I'm always going to learn from them. I'm always going to get better. I don't want to be making the same mistakes twice.
Now, the mayor said the end of the year is an opportunity to look back and also look forward to what 2026 will bring.
the eyes of the world are going to be on the San Francisco Bay Area, and we have so much to show off. I can't tell you how excited I am for 2026.
The mayor pointed to major events in 2026 that are expected to benefit San Francisco and the rest of the Bay Area, including the Super Bowl in February and World Cup play in June and July. In San Francisco, Christian Cafton, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
Time is 7:09, and pardon me, we do have a lot of slow traffic out there. First of all, let's go to the East Bay. Now, I will say this, it's better commute today than it was yesterday. Yesterday, we had a lot more crashes. Today, it's just kind of the run-of-the-mill slow traffic that you see. San Mateo Bridge is already improving a little bit from what it was even just a half hour ago. We look at 880. The Bay Bridge is still backed up all the way out to the maze, a little bit beyond, and fog is an issue in some areas. You may not be able to see well, although, again, yesterday it was raining and wet, and today's commute seems like an improvement to a lot of people. 7:10, let's go back to the desk.
Thank you, Sal. A woman recently named one of Forbes' most powerful women in Peru is becoming more prominent on the global stage. But she says her work creating indigenous music goes beyond art.
Jacoby & Myers has been a proud part of the California community since 1972. We've stood by our neighbors, helping hundreds of thousands of families get the justice they deserve. Whether it's fighting insurance companies or fighting for you in court, we'll stand up for you. At Jacoby & Myers, we know the stakes, your family, your health, your future. For over 50 years, we've been California's trusted name in legal care. If you've been injured, call us today at 1-800-5-MILLION, because you deserve justice.
Some of the stories we're following here at 7:14. A Republican health care bill passed the House and now faces uncertainty in the Senate. Republicans say their measure expands health plans, lowers premiums for some Affordable Care Act enrollees, and imposes reforms that cut drug costs. Democrats note the GOP bill does not include an extension of the health care tax credits that lowered health insurance premiums for millions of Americans. 4 moderate House Republicans joined Democrats to force a vote on extending the subsidies. That petition will be considered in January. A high school staff member in Vallejo is under arrest, charged with multiple crimes involving a student. Vallejo police detained 36-year-old Reuben Carter Freeman. He works as a site safety supervisor at Vallejo High School. Freeman's been booked on several charges, including soliciting lewd acts in public, false imprisonment, and robbery. And the winter holiday travel period officially begins this weekend. AAA predicts more than 122 million Americans will travel at least 50 miles from home between December 20th and January 1st. It's a 2.2% increase from last year. Most will be driving. At least 8 million, though, expected to fly to their destinations. It's about 200,000 more than last year.
Well, at 7:15, for the first time in years, Mariah Carey has been dethroned as the Queen of Christmas. All I Want for Christmas Is You has been #1 on the Billboard Global 200 during the holiday season for the last 5 years. But this past Monday, Last Christmas by Wham took the #1 spot. That song was released in December of 1984 and has been a massive hit every year since. It's gone 9 times platinum in the U.S., but Mariah fans don't need to fret. Even though her song isn't #1 on the global chart, it's still topping the U.S. charts. YouTube is planning to pull its music data from the Billboard charts. The decision is in response to a recent change Billboard made to the ranking formula, which adds more weight to paid on-demand streaming compared to free streaming with ads. YouTube says this ignores engagement from fans who don't have a paid subscription. The ranking changes will be seen in charts published on January 17th.
Meanwhile, more people are taking note of rising indigenous artists who are reshaping music while reclaiming their identity, language, and history. One of them is from Peru. She is 23 years old. Her name is Renata Flores. She's an indigenous singer who raps in Quechua, the language of the Incas. In 2022, she was named one of Forbes' most powerful women in Peru. Before that, the New York Times called her the Queen of Quechua rap. She says her music lives at the intersection of tradition and modern sound.
I sing, compose, and rap in Quechua, the language of the Inca Empire, a language that has endured for many years in Latin America. And I'm both transgressive and traditional because I make music that blends new musical trends with the music of my ancestors.
Flores also says her music is a form of resistance. That mission has taken her from Peru to global stages and sparked collaborations with superstars such as Shawn Mendes back at home and most recently in Los Angeles. Flores says the journey hasn't been easy, but change is happening. She wants the world to know the vibrancy of Quechua, the most widely spoken indigenous language in Latin America.
Mirachi warmi yamana hino yamana chaska hoya horika samana chaska cheni chaska hawayuk suma hukuyu sukuhamutaini chikmi hawachikwanchiha ahona kupakmi pakarimuni.
Coming up at 8, we'll be talking live with an environmental activist and hip-hop artist who's collaborated with Flores.
All right, making it to the mainstream. All right, let's go over to Sal right now. It's 7:17 for a look at the roads on this Thursday. Sal.
Andre and Garcia, these commutes have been okay. If you are driving at the Bay Bridge, let's go there now. You can see that traffic is backed up to the MacArthur Maze, no major issues. If you are driving on Interstate 880, it looks pretty good, and the San Mateo Bridge looks fine. I see some flashing lights. I believe that's just someone getting pulled over. I don't see a crash reported on the bridge, and you can see the Dumbarton Bridge looks good. So today's commute is much better than yesterday, but the normal slowdowns do apply. 7:18, let's talk about, well, let's go back to Devin with today's weather.
Hi, Sal.
Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, let's talk about this next set of rainfall that we are certainly going to be experiencing today. In case anyone was wondering, that's, oh, well, it was gone. That's how much it rained in the past 24 hours. Let's talk about today now as we go ahead and see the low 60s and upper 50s pretty much for everyone. A mostly cloudy day around the Bay Area. And then the main event, the next system of storms. This is a nice tropical pressure kind of moving in. As we see, we're going to start seeing some rain Friday evening, early afternoon hours for some. Then Saturday on and off, mostly clear and dry in the morning hours before making its way to our bigger system Saturday evening and into Sunday. By the time we get into Sunday, that's when you'll start to see the heavier rainfall, gusts around 35 miles per hour, maybe even some isolated thunderstorm activity. That's the second system. Now, once we get through the weekend, the third and final starts Tuesday with a consistent rain into Christmas Eve and parts of Christmas Day, also bringing those accumulation numbers well back to what we normally see for the month of December. This is typically our wettest month of the year, and we will finally get there after all of this rain. This is the last dry day for the next 7 days. So whatever you need to get done, I would highly recommend doing it today. So as we get through that first system into the second, that's when we can start to see about an inch of rainfall, probably more in downtown San Francisco. And then by the time we make our way out of Sunday and get into that secondary the third system and Tuesday, that's when we'll see the accumulation numbers several inches closer to what we would normally anticipate for this time of year. What does that mean for the Sierras? And unfortunately, the snow levels are going up. So still waiting to see how the snow levels will play out for the holiday week itself. Temperatures showing us a little bit cooler this weekend. But other than that, the rain will start, and unfortunately, it will not end anytime soon. Garcia, Andre.
Devin, thank you. President Trump promising new savings on health care for Americans. We'll examine his promise of bringing down prescription drug prices and look more broadly at the future of that contentious issue.
More U.S. military aid heading to Taiwan, what this could mean for the relationship between the U.S. and China.
Welcome back to Mornings on 2. It's 7:23, a live look outside. This is our camera atop Monument Peak. We're looking toward the Calaveras Reservoir. Just a gorgeous sunrise on this Thursday. Look, if you have outdoor things to do, today is the day to do them, because starting tomorrow evening, there's a whole different weather pattern shift that is going to affect many of us as we're in that last week before Christmas, trying to get our shopping and baking and all those good things done. So it's a good thing we have our Devin Truby standing by. She will help sort of guide us through what's happening when it comes to the weather. Back here in Oakland, City Councilman Ken Houston is defending himself and explaining an obscene gesture he made during a tense council meeting recently. Councilmember Houston was seen sticking up his middle finger at people who attended Tuesday night's council hearing on expanding the use of license plate reader cameras in Oakland. As you can see, it was captured on video, posted on social media. We've blurred that part out. Now Houston is getting backlash from the community.
During public comment, someone was pointing out the fact that only 20% of Councilmember Houston's district had voted, which meant that only 6,000 people had voted for him. Apparently, he did not like that.
If this is the guy that's representing us as a whole, then we need to do better as a community ourselves.
We did reach out to Houston about this video. He responded in a text message sent to KTVU, said his gesture was a reaction to a racially charged environment at the council meeting, and he said people were making racist remarks about his Latino heritage. Councilman Houston represents Oakland's District 7 in East Oakland. He is up for re-election in 2028.
At 7:25, the Trump administration says it's sending more military aid to Taiwan. The State Department says the U.S. will sell more than $10 billion in military equipment to Taiwan. The sale includes medium-range missiles, howitzers, and drones. Experts warn the sale could increase tensions between the U.S. and China. China views Taiwan as its own territory and has warned any attempts to protect its independence would be, quote, doomed to fail.
We're getting a first-hand account of what it was like to be part of a chain reaction crash that sent a car flying off the back of a tow truck and onto the BART tracks this week. The incident shut down trains and traffic on 580 for hours. It all began when a tow truck collided with a red pickup. Rolando Gonzalez says he was driving home from Dublin to Hayward along 580 in his red Chevy when he says his vehicle was hit. Gonzalez says it appeared as though the tow truck driver had been ejected from the truck.
Checked myself, made sure I was okay, yeah. I look out the mirror, and then I see the guy on the ground, and the vehicle just like, I don't even remember what happened to the vehicle. I just remember the guy and the car on the tracks. He was able to get up, talk, he was conscious, made sure he was okay.
CHP says it's still working to understand how the car flew off the truck and landed on the tracks.
Well, coming up, the cost-saving decision that was just made that means several Vallejo schools will be shutting down. That story is going to be coming up for you in our 7:30 half hour of news. Well, some parents in Vallejo just found out their children's schools are closing. The budget shortfall that the district says it's forcing its hand. Plus,
I'm doing what no politician of either party has ever done, standing up to the special interests to dramatically reduce the price of prescription drugs.
President Trump makes big claims during last night's address to the nation. We're diving deeper into what he said about health care.
From KTVU Fox 2 News, this is Mornings on 2.
Welcome to Mornings on 2. I'm Andre Sr.
Good morning. I'm Gassia Mikaelian. It's Thursday, December 18th. We had some decent rain yesterday. This is your break day, according to our Devin Truby, because from like tomorrow evening on out, we'll be living in a whole different weather world.
Oh, yeah, the last dry day of the next 7. So if you want to do something without having to pop an umbrella or worrying about being caught in the rain, today is your day. We do have a beautiful photo to show you, though. As you can see, a little bit of cloud and fog this morning, and the sun starting to come up, giving that golden hue for us. Current temperatures, we've got 51 in San Francisco and Oakland, 49 down in the South Bay. Dense fog advisory in effect until 11 a.m. Went ahead and highlighted the areas impacted in gray on the map for you. As you can see, a certain part of the Bay Area, North Bay as well, has caused some visibility issues in certain areas this morning. In Santa Rosa, down to about half a mile. Hayward, a big improvement to when they were at about a half a mile an hour ago. It's been okay for the traffic, but we've seen a few impacts. Want to bring in the Santa of traffic. He sees when the traffic is speeding, and he also sees when you brake, don't you, Sal?
Yes, yes. You know, and speaking of Christmas and all that, probably next week and maybe even later this week. Well, later this week, it's already Thursday, but I think next week you're going to see a lot of people take time off. So if you want to wait for better traffic, certainly next week as we get closer to Christmas. Let's go to the Richmond-San Rafael Bridge. You can see traffic is going to be okay. And at the Bay Bridge Toll Plaza, we have a backup all the way out to the Maze. So the fog is moving around. It was a lot foggier earlier on a lot of these pictures, and it tends to be moving around. The San Mateo Bridge is a good example. It's crowded, but not affected by any crashes reported on the way to the peninsula. And one more thing here, I do want to mention that if you're driving on the Dumbarton Bridge, it's slow from all the way across the span over to the peninsula. 7:31, let's go back to the headlines.
Sal, thank you. 3 elementary schools in Vallejo are set to close next year. This was the announcement from a school board meeting last night. Our James Torres live at one of those school sites with the cost-saving measures, James, that the district says will soon take effect.
Yeah, Garcia, the Vallejo City Unified School District, much like any other district in the Bay Area, facing these major budget deficits, and they say they need to make major budget cuts. And closing and consolidating some of these school campuses, they say, is going to be a big way to do that. We are standing just outside of Annie Penny Cook Elementary School. That is one of 3 schools that they announced earlier this week. The other 2 schools, Highland Elementary, Lincoln Elementary, Pennycook Elementary, rounding out the 3. Those are the 3 elementary schools that will shut down at the end of the school year. School leaders have talked about these closures for months, and that's after last year when the board opted to shut down another elementary school as well as a middle school. The board says these decisions come after years of rising operational costs and declining student enrollment. Board President John Fox releasing a statement saying in part, quote, "No board member takes these decisions lightly. We carefully examined years of data, listened to our community, and weighed our responsibility to maintain stability in this district for the long term." The district also announced $32 million in other budget cuts. A big chunk of that is coming from cuts to staffing. All of that, they say, is set to take effect by the beginning of next year. We're live this morning in Vallejo. I'm James Torres, KTVU. Fox 2 News.
Thank you, James. New this morning, Democrats responding to President Trump's national address last night in which he bashed former President Biden. House Democratic leaders are holding a news conference this morning to reply to the president. They're accusing the president of trying to shift the blame for a weakening economy on the Biden administration. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries is calling the speech unhinged and untethered from reality and truth.
The cost of living in this great country is far too high. That America is too expensive, that far too many people, working class folks, are struggling to live paycheck to paycheck, can't thrive, can barely survive. That the most important thing that the Congress should be doing is driving down the high cost of living to make life more affordable for everyday Americans.
Democrats also say the refusal by the president and Republican lawmakers to extend Obamacare subsidies will drive up health care costs for Americans in the new year.
So during President Trump's speech to the nation, he also said he's going to take on gigantic health insurance companies and is reducing the price of prescription drugs.
The first of these unprecedented price reductions will be available starting in January through a new website, TrumpRx.gov. And these big price cuts will greatly reduce the cost of health care.
This comes as the Republican health care bill passed the House. That drops an extension of the health care tax credit. To dive deeper into President Trump's health care claims, we're joined by Professor Michelle Goodwin of Georgetown Law Center. Doctor, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
It's a pleasure to be back with you. Thank you for having me.
All right, so let's dive into what the president said here. The president also said, that he is going to give money directly to the American people to buy their own health care. He says you'll get a much better health care at a much lower price if he does it that way. What are your thoughts about what he said during his speech last night?
Well, the United States is the only country amongst our peers where Americans are not guaranteed health care, where Americans go into bankruptcy in order to be able to afford their medical bills or pay those off. That's what has actually led to the Affordable Care Act to provide relief for Americans. The very idea that Americans would have to pay out of pocket for health care is inconsistent with a sense of human rights and fundamental values in terms of people being able to deserve health care, no matter what their socioeconomic circumstances happen to be. And this does not relieve it, what the president spoke to last night.
Is there any information that you gathered from the speech or from his administration that what the president plans to do here with this idea is a benefit, as the president purports to say here?
There are many inaccuracies that were found within the speech, but it's devastating. We have to look to facts, not the sort of fiction that has been purported around healthcare in the United States. The truth of it is that Americans deserve to be able to have healthcare, and that which they don't go into bankruptcy in order to be able to afford to care for themselves. And what was proposed in the president's speech doesn't reach to that at all. And there wasn't much substance around it. So what we heard unveiled last night, there's not been anything substantively related to it prior to last night's speech. So there's not actually a lot to go on at all.
All right. The president laid a lot of the blames of the ills of the economy on the previous administration, President Biden's administration. Whether this is accurate or not, is there any data to show that that what President Trump is doing here to, fix the economy, so to speak, that it is resonating with people who are listening, the American public?
It's such a good question, because one of the challenges is, people may, in fact, love to hear the kind of commentary that comes from Donald Trump. We know that they do. It's not necessarily been the case that it's been connected to that which is accurate, lawful, or constitutional, and that is one of the big challenges. There's already been significant fact-checking on the speech, and much of which has shown that the president was really inaccurate in this financial town hall or State of the Union that he gave yesterday, and it's also brought together rather quickly. So I think that what you would find across all measures of fact-checking is that the president was actually weak on facts and empirics, but said the kinds of things that Americans do want to hear, and Americans do deserve relief because many are suffering economically. Just a week or so ago, I was at a food bank providing food to people, and those people didn't look unhoused. Those look like working class and middle class Americans who are coming in to get necessary groceries leading to the holidays.
Professor, do you understand this speech to be aimed at the entire country or the president's base, and what are the implications of this?
Well, that's a really good question, because some are saying that the speech was almost as those that he would do on the campaign trail, except that it was coming from the White House. Look, I think that we should expect that he is the president and that he's speaking to all Americans. And I think in particular, I think he wanted to resonate with working class and middle class Americans. Now, what he was saying. Was it accurate? Not necessarily so much. He said that he brought peace to the Middle East and it hasn't been there for 3,000 years. Well, that's actually not true. He made claims with regard to people who rely on tips and things like that, that into the future that they would have some form of tax relief. Well, that's not true. He signed into some legislation that provides some temporary relief. And so throughout the speech, there's sort of claims with regard to gas prices, with regard to eggs, et cetera, just off base. Americans are actually suffering from Trump's economic policies, including his tariffs policy. In a speech, he spoke about loving tariffs and that the tariffs policies were winning for America. Well, that's not consistent with what farmers are saying, what people who are in the building industry are saying, or many others. So it's a bit untethered from what Americans have been talking about. And if you look at it statistically, probably 60 to 70% of Americans are in spaces where they're suffering more than where they were in the Biden administration. And those are just plain facts, and facts that are coming from even the Trump administration.
Well, we do see Republicans joining Democrats in resurrecting Obamacare for Americans around the country. We'll see what transpires out of that, which is presumably one of the reasons the president stood out and spoke to the American public last night. Professor Michelle Goodwin of Georgetown Law Center, thank you so much for providing your insight this morning. We truly appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me on. Thank you so much.
7:40, let's see what's happening on this Thursday morning commute. Where are you most concerned, Sal?
Looking at the East Bay there, Gassia and Andre, let's start there in the East Bay with Highway 4 and Interstate 680. As you drive south this morning on 680, you're going to see some slowing. I can put up a map and show you what we're talking about. A little bit of slowing, but Highway 4 is pretty slow all the way out to past Willow Pass Road this morning. So it's because of an earlier issue we had, and traffic is still pretty slow. Let's talk about some, looks like my maps are somewhat malfunctioning, but see if I can get to the Bay Bridge. The Bay Bridge is backed up for a good long way. Nothing unusual about that, but it is improving fog-wise as you get across into San Francisco. 7:41, let's go back to the desk.
Thank you, Sal. Winter viruses are spiking across the Bay Area and beyond. New data finds seasonal flu cases are rising, especially in the South Bay.
Yeah, so we want to hear from you. This morning we're asking, have you gotten your flu shot yet? Yes, not yet, but plan to, or no, not getting one. And right now, 78% of you, wow, that's nice, say yes. 18% of you say no, not getting one. 4% of you say not yet, but plan to get one. Go to KTVU.com/vote. Let us know what you think about our question this morning.
I think the general guideline by doctors is to get it by the end of October. We kind of use Halloween as a marker, but any doctor will tell you, and they have recently on Mornings on 2, it's never too late.
Get it anytime?
It's never too late, absolutely.
If you've ever had the flu, man, it is the worst.
It's like the whole, I felt like I was hit by a truck.
Yes.
That's the flu.
Yes.
That's why I get vaccinated.
All right, we'll be right back.
Welcome back. Some of the stories we're monitoring here at 7:45. The son of director Rob Reiner, Nick Reiner, made his first court appearance, facing 2 counts of first-degree murder for the death of his parents. The 32-year-old appeared behind a glass wall, wearing shackles and suicide prevention clothing. The Los Angeles County DA has not ruled out pursuing the death penalty in this case. A woman injured during a party at UC Berkeley fraternity has filed a lawsuit. 21-year-old Branda Body was paralyzed from the waist down after falling at least 12 feet during a Cal Day party hosted by the Phi Kappa Tau fraternity back in April. It's believed no one called 911 until 7 hours after the fall. KTVU has reached out to the fraternity for a response. We have yet to hear back. Bay Area sports radio legend and voice of the 49ers, Greg Papa, is coming back to the broadcast booth. He says he's now in remission after being diagnosed with leukemia in July. He'll resume play-by-play duties for the team's final 2 home games of the season. Papa's been the radio voice of the Niners since 2019. His return begins December 28th when the 49ers face the Chicago Bears. Well, the latest report on inflation was just released this morning. Pam Cook has that and market reaction in today's Dollars and Cents. Pam?
Yes, definitely a good positive day in terms of the market. The Consumer Price Index for the month, though, for October was released this morning. It does show inflation is up 2.7% from this time last year, but economists are a little hesitant to weigh in on this report in particular because the data is delayed and it is not as complete as usual because of the government shutdown. However, on the news, as that opening bell rang this morning, the index is headed much higher as the read on inflation was lower than at least what Wall Street expected. We're still seeing that inflation, but markets are up. The indexes across the board. As we take a live look to the big board, the NASDAQ is up almost 2%. More than 400 points. There's a live look at the Dow, also up about 453 points or so, and the S&P 500 gaining 1.33%, also up about 100 points. The Trump media and technology company is merging with a nuclear fusion power company. The all-stock deal is valued at more than $6 billion, signaling a significant pivot for the company. The parent company of Truth Social, the platform there, the combined company announced it hopes to start construction next year on the world's quote, first utility scale power plant. Shares of the Trump Media and Technology Group have struggled this year, but surged 20% this morning following news of that partnership. A new report finds San Francisco's economy took some slight downward trends this fall. The Comptroller's Office reports employment is trending lower compared to this time last year, with tech leading the job losses. Downtown foot traffic has been increasing, but dipped below pre-pandemic levels in the fall. Hotel occupancy also lost some steam, but keep in mind the fall is often a lull between summer travel and the holidays. Housing prices in San Francisco continue to trend higher, even though state numbers are flat. I'm Pam Cook. That's a look at your dollars and cents.
Pam, thank you. A long delayed pedestrian and bike rail crossing in North Santa Rosa is finally moving forward. The Smart Rail Board voted to end a long stalemate over the Jennings Avenue crossing. The crossing is located where Jennings Avenue meets the Smart Rail line. The breakthrough came after pressure from state regulators and a new agreement between Smart and the city that clarifies liability. Construction still years away here, but the vote clears the path for design and bidding to begin. Well, the winter holiday travel period officially kicks off in 2 days. This year it's expected to be one for the record books. AAA is predicting more than 122 million Americans will travel at least 50 miles from home between December 20th and January 1st. It's a 2.2% increase over last year. It's a trend that's been accelerating since the end of the pandemic.
These are the times of year when people want to go out of town, spend time with family and friends. They definitely try to capitalize and maximize the days they have around the holidays.
Most people will drive. At least 8 million expected to fly to their destinations, about 200,000 more than last year. Experts advise air travelers to plan ahead, secure their parking early on, and arrive at the airport at least 2 hours before takeoff for domestic flights. 7:49, let's see what's happening at this moment for a Thursday morning commute, Sal.
Kasia, good morning. We do have a bigger backup at the Bay Bridge, which is backed up to the maze. That's not unusual. We're going to start there as a lot of people are expecting to get across the bridge. You heard Kasia say get to the airport 2 hours early, and that also has to do, of course, with how early you get on the road. So right now, if you're driving to SFO, it's about a typical commute. We don't see anything unusual. Likewise for Oakland International Airport, but some days, obviously, it's worse than others. This is a look at the San Mateo Bridge, and I see see a paramedic unit on the span. I'm just going to check to see if there's anything reported on the bridge here, and I don't see it, although it could be happening, but I don't see it now. It could be just a medic unit going somewhere else. You can also see that the Dumbarton Bridge looks pretty good heading out to the peninsula, and the peninsula traffic has been okay. I do say okay because in South City, Route 101 is pretty slow as you leave South City and try to make your way up toward Candlestick exit and downtown San Francisco. 750. Let's go to Devin now, who's doing the weather.
Yes, Al, let's talk about your day today. Pretty much everybody in those upper 50s to low 60s. Mostly cloudy skies today. We'll get a nice breeze growing at the end of the day. This is your last dry day for the next 7, though, before we get to the main event that we've been talking about. 3 separate systems of tropical moisture kind of moving its way in. The first one Friday evening. We'll start to see those isolated showers late afternoon before making its way down to pretty much everybody Friday evening. Saturday, a little bit more unsettled with the possibility of some dry morning and early afternoon before the system arrives to be a part of your Saturday evening, and that will continue into Sunday. Sunday, that's when we start to get the heavier rainfall, precipitation accumulation, talking about winds gusting anywhere from 30 to 35 miles per hour, possibly some isolated thunderstorm activities. And once we get through the weekend, we just kind of have band after band of moisture making its way into the area. Our third system impacting us on Tuesday, and that will allow it to rain through Christmas Eve and parts of Christmas also. This is going to make holiday travel a bit difficult for the time of years. In terms of accumulation, we're finally catching up to those December totals that we normally expect, as December is usually our wettest month of the year. We just haven't had that yet. After the secondary system for this weekend, as you can see, and making our way into Monday, that's when we really will get that accumulation, over an inch in downtown San Francisco, 2 to 3 inches in other locations. And then with that final system that's headed around the holiday week, that will really bring some of our locations back to normal. What this means for the Sierras, though, unfortunately, the snow level is moving up this week and weekend. So we'll have to see if it moves back down for next week for our skiers and snowboarders, talking about snow above 8,000 feet today, above 9,000 most likely tomorrow. Showing us the 5-day forecast, though, we can see a bit of a cooler weekend. This is the last day to clean out those gutters and tie down those inflatable decorations, Andre.
All right. Thank you so much, Devin. That deadline to get health coverage is fast approaching. Next today, we'll talk to the executive director of Covered California about how uncertainty in Washington could mean higher premiums for those in the Golden State. And free dinner and toys for the holidays will take you to OPD's efforts to unite the community. 7:55, the Oakland Police Department hosting a special dinner and toy giveaway for local families in Chinatown. Interim Police Chief James Berry joined officers to greet children from underserved communities. All of the 100 children in attendance got the opportunity to pick a holiday gift. One 11-year-old selected a purse for her mom. When officers found out what she did, they told her she could pick another gift for herself.
She's been working hard to get what I want to feed my brother and me, and so I wanted to give her a special present.
Well, some parents who attended the event tell us the kind gesture is helping their children form a new, more positive view of police. The department will be joining the mayor's office and other city agencies for another holiday celebration and toy giveaway this Saturday at City Hall. The holiday season just became a little bit more brighter for children who will spend Christmas at the Santa Clara Valley Medical Center. Santa Clara firefighters and sheriff's deputies came to the hospital bearing gifts. They've been collecting toys for weeks as part of an annual event, and this year the K-9 unit helped distribute them.
I think on a regular day, no one wants to be at the hospital, and to be in the hospital during the holidays is extra hard. So it's really impactful for the families and especially the kids to just have some joy brought into their lives.
Well, the first responders say they could not do it without the community's help and donations. They plan to make a few more stops to deliver toys this holiday season and are still taking donations. You can drop off toys at any Santa Clara County fire station through January 3rd. A makeover near the Golden Gate Bridge that has taken years is finally complete now. Hawk Hill in the Golden Gate National Recreation Area is open again and promises a more structured experience for those who want to soak in the sights. The three-phase project was conducted by the National Park Service and the Golden Gate National Parks Conservancy nonprofit. They made the park more accessible by adding guardrails, flattening out some grounds, and paving pathways.
It's able to give people access on accessible trails, so you don't have to hike up a bunch of steps or slip down a bunch of rocks. These trails are now beautiful, accessible, and it makes it possible to get to the top of Hawk Hill, whether you're taking in views or kind of enjoying the fog.
More people can now enjoy Hawk Hill, which is home to the largest migration of raptors west of the Mississippi. There are as many as 19 different species of hawks, falcons, harriers, and water predators living in the area. The park is free to the public every day. Well, happening today, TikTok will host its first ever U.S. awards show. The ceremony will be at the Hollywood Palladium in Los Angeles. It will be a celebration of the creators and viral trends that have shaped the video sharing platform's massive American community. Categories for this year's show include Breakthrough Artist, Top Video, and Best CapCut Creator.
I mean, it is an art form. They're changing culture. They're changing what we think is cool. They're changing the trends. They're changing the things that we follow. So it is an art form. And TikTok is now a place that people go to for everything. And to be in this room with so many amazing disruptors, content creators, people that are really pushing the needle is just incredible. I'm honored to be here, and I'm honored to meet everyone and socialize and just vibe with people, because you never know what could come out of an amazing room like this.
Well, TikTok has held awards shows in 20 other countries as part of its global awards series over the last 5 years. Well, after more than 50 years on broadcast TV, the Oscars are moving to YouTube. The Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences announced an exclusive streaming deal starting in 2029. And that means the Oscars will continue to air on ABC for the next 3 years. The awards show has been on that network for nearly 50 years. The Oscars say the partnership with YouTube will include expanded programming throughout the year beyond just the annual awards show.
Bay Area and state leaders concerned about an increase in the flu and norovirus, what the numbers show and how you can protect yourself and others. Then the key health insurance deadline just days away here, and federal action could drive premiums up. In a minute, we'll talk with Covered California's executive director about what Californians need to know before enrolling. Then President Trump promising tax relief, a bonus to troops, and a new housing plan. The key points in and the pushback to his primetime address.
From KTVU Fox 2 News, this is Mornings on 2.
Good morning and welcome back. Taking a live look at KTVU's own backyard, the Oakland Alameda Estuary. Gray up above and in the water. It is, however, a relatively dry day if we take a peek back at what we had yesterday, which was rain at this hour. And then, boy, we launch into a whole new weather pattern coming up soon.
Thank you so much for joining us this morning. I'm Andre Sr.
And I'm Gassia Mikaeli. And it's a busy Thursday, December 18th. Weather is a big part of that. Our Devin Truby standing by to help guide us through not just today, right, Devin?
Absolutely. We're talking long range now. Got to get people ready for the holidays. Today, we'll be talking about fog in certain places. We take a look out at Santa Cruz. Looks like a little bit of work is being done there on the seawall on the beach. Got a couple of crews out there moving some dirt around. We take a look at current temperatures, 54 in Concord, 51 in Oakland, 48 in the South Bay. Dense fog advisory until 11 a.m. this morning. Went ahead and highlighted the areas in gray on the map that are impacted. Kind of just depends upon where you are, if you're seeing that fog or if you're starting to see a few peaks of sunshine there. Visibility has been impacted, though. We've been seeing about a half a mile all morning long in Santa Rosa. Hayward, much improved, though, as we talk about what you can expect for the rest of the day. That's going to be temperatures upper 50s to low 60s, mostly cloudy across the area. This is the last dry day to get this stuff done. So, Sal, maybe some more people out on the roadways trying to sneak in those errands, the last holiday shopping, grocery shopping, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, all kinds of stuff to do. If you don't like the rain, that's a good point. If you don't like slow traffic, I would avoid Highway 101 on the peninsula between South City and San Francisco because of a couple of issues. One was a car fire near 3rd, and now a new-ish crash on the South Airport Boulevard on-ramp. A car took that ramp too fast and overturned there, or some other circumstance, probably going too fast, so it causes most crashes. Northbound 280, Daly City getting over to San Francisco, solid from basically John Daly all the way out to 101. Bay Bridge is backed up to the Maze. 8:01, let's get back to the headlines.
Thank you, Sal. There is a concerning increase in the number of flu cases across the Bay Area.
KTVU's Ali Rasmus live with a look at the maps that are tracking those cases. Ali, good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, those cases tracked in part through wastewater data. Stanford University has a public health tool called Wastewater Scan. It tracks diseases through the wastewater that comes through various water treatment plants across the Bay Area. And based on their info, the rate of influenza A, or seasonal flu, is high. The areas highlighted on this map from that wastewater data show some of the hot spots. They include San Jose, Palo Alto, Fremont, San Francisco, and parts of the North Bay as well, from San Rafael to Vallejo. California Health Department data confirms that increase in cases, with the number of reported positive flu tests in the Bay Area alone nearly doubling in just 1 week, the week after Thanksgiving. So the advice, get your flu shot now. Medical professionals agree the vaccine does offer protection against the most severe effects of the virus. Last year's flu season was the worst in more than a decade, with the highest rate of hospitalization since 2010. You'll recall that was the year of the H1N1 flu outbreak. Flu season usually peaks in early spring, so there's still time to get your shot now and have some level of protection. Now, another seasonal virus health officials are tracking is norovirus, also commonly referred to as stomach flu. Wastewater data sampling had shown an increase in norovirus cases also here in the Bay Area in the past several weeks, though in the past week or so, the numbers have started to level off. Now, even though it's uncomfortable and can lead to 24 hours of vomiting and stomach upset, norovirus for most people does not lead to hospitalization, although children and the elderly can become dehydrated. So as for norovirus, though, there is no vaccine for that. Doctors say the best way to protect yourself is by washing your hands with soap and water frequently for at least 20 seconds at a time. They warn that hand sanitizer doesn't work as well to protect against norovirus, so there's no substitute for soap and water. Back to you.
Ali Rasmus, thank you. Looking more broadly here at the issue of health care, open enrollment is underway in California amid growing questions about rising costs and federal decisions that could impact the cost of coverage. Let's welcome Covered California Executive Director Jessica Altman to Mornings on 2 as we're looking at options and what's at stake. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Of course, we have to start with those expiring tax credits. It is unlikely Congress will approve an extension of the advanced premium tax credits before the end of the year. Many people say hundreds of thousands of Californians could opt out of Covered California because they will not be able to afford their premiums, which in some cases could almost double. What do you say to all those who are very nervously watching this situation?
Look, I think it's right to be nervously watching the situation. Affordability is front of mind. Healthcare is critical. What I would stress for people is not, though, to make assumptions about your own personal situation. These enhanced tax credits did make the federal support more generous, and they did that in two ways, both making more available for lower income people and making them available to middle income people for the first time. That means their expiration will impact different people, different families differently. And so now is the window during open enrollment to empower yourself by being informed about your individual circumstance if you are looking or already enrolled in Covered California as your source of health insurance.
So, there's a lot of talk, there's a lot of fear, there's also a lot of hearsay. What's the first step you want people, a concrete step you'd like people to take?
The first step is to go to coveredca.com. That is our website. If you're really unsure about this, you can truly, in under 2 minutes, use our quick quote tool. Enter just 5 basic pieces of information you will know off the top of your head and see, based on what you provide, what tax credit level you'll be eligible for, what health plans are available where you live, and what they would cost you after receiving that tax credit. It truly does take under 2 minutes, and that can give you a gut check on what you could be looking at from a cost perspective and an options perspective on Covered California this year.
Of course, all of this is coming as people are paying more for, milk, eggs, and bread. Many people fearing losing their jobs. It's the holidays. The timing of this financially for some people could not be worse.
It's so unfortunate that Congress has put people in this position, right? Not making this decision, making it uncertain as we are in not just this time of year that is hard, but also the open enrollment season, the window that people have. What I will commit to Californians is that if we do see Congress act, and they still could in the new year, however unlikely it may seem right now, if they do act, we are ready to implement the changes and deliver the more generous tax credits to give you time to enroll or change your plan as quickly as we can if that does happen. But that may not happen. And so right now we have the costs and the options we have the time window we have, and the first deadline, if you want coverage on January 1st to enroll, is December 31st, just a few weeks away. And we do need to share the word about that so people who want coverage starting on January 1st can get it.
Looking at healthcare, what would be the effect if, let's say, hundreds of thousands of people are not able to have that health insurance? I know there are clinics that help people. I'm imagining emergency rooms could be even more impacted. What do you see in the future?
Thank you for asking that question. This is where we can't think about these enhanced tax credits in isolation to other changes in federal policy. We have the so-called One Big Beautiful Bill Act that in the coming years will significantly reduce funding for Medi-Cal and Medicaid programs around the country, in addition to these changes to Covered California. This will collectively result in likely a lot of people going without health insurance who have it today. And that impacts, of course, those people, their loved ones, their communities. But healthcare providers are not Covered California doctors or Medi-Cal doctors. They serve their whole communities. And when you look at people leaving the coverage system, potentially not getting care or getting care anyway that they can't afford to pay for, that will stress our whole system and impact all of us.
All right, Jessica Altman, I wish we had more time. Unfortunately, we don't. I appreciate your joining us here. You're the Covered California Executive Director. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thanks.
At 8:08, next year's midterm election will likely depend on the nation's economy. President Trump tried to promote and tout his economic policies during last night's national primetime speech. This morning, we talked to Georgetown University of America government Michelle Swears about the speech. She says the president's glowing account of the progress his administration is making so far does not connect with the sentiments of the American people.
When he's looking at specific macroeconomic indicators, they're showing, higher GDP growth. He noted that blue collar wages are rising, the stock market is rising. But what people feel is the things that hit them immediately. So when they go to the grocery store, prices are higher.
Professor Swears says some of the higher prices are due to the president's own tariffs on items that aren't produced in the U.S., such as coffee.
Housing crisis is still a big problem for people and the affordability of housing. And then Democrats have been focusing on the fact that healthcare costs are going to increase and blaming it on Republicans because they won't extend the subsidies for the Affordable Care Act.
All right, so fact-checking some of his comments, he claimed prices are falling rapidly, but new inflation numbers show rates are about the same as when he took office in January. President Trump said he secured a, quote, record-breaking $18 trillion of investments into the United States, but there's no evidence showing that amount of money. An Associated Press analysis indicates this figure appears exaggerated, highly speculative, and far higher than the actual sum.
Time is 8:10, and I have to focus on the peninsula because northbound 101 is a little bit of a mess leaving South City through Brisbane into San Francisco. And the biggest reason was an earlier car fire near 3rd Street. The fire's been out for a while, but, you know, they still have to tow it away, and there was stuff to look at there. It's also slowing southbound 101. So 280 is not a great option because northbound 280 near Geneva, there's a crash there as well. Bay Bridge backed up as you drive into San Francisco. Typical delay. 880 is out there. You notice fog in these pictures, but the fog seems to have become a little bit less dense as the morning wears on. Highway 4 is slow. It's a little bit unusual. Slow almost all the way to 242 because of some earlier issues. From Antioch to Concord, most of the traffic is Pittsburgh to Concord. 8:10. Let's go back to the desk.
Well, naturalization interviews canceled for some people in Northern California. What we know about the unexpected move that's leaving applicants and attorneys alike baffled. Plus.
From Peru to California, one artist is working to amplify an ancestral language in a modern way and collaborating with mainstream artists. You'll meet her next.
Jacoby & Myers has been a proud part of the California community since 1972. We've stood by our neighbors, helping hundreds of thousands of families get the justice they deserve. Whether it's fighting insurance companies or fighting for you in court, we'll stand up for you. At Jacoby & Myers, we know the stakes: your family, your health, your future. For over 50 years, we've been California's trusted name in legal care. If you've been injured, call us today at 1-800-5-MILLION, because you deserve justice.
Some of the stories we're following here at 8:14. The Vallejo City Unified School District has voted to close 3 schools at the end of this academic year. The decision comes after a heated school board meeting this week. In the end, Highland, Lincoln, and Pennycook Elementary were selected for closure. Officials say it's part of a sweeping plan to balance the district's budget.
A federal judge in San Francisco ordering the Trump administration to rehire nearly 700 employees who were laid off during or right after the government shutdown. The workers are part of the state and education departments. The judge ruled the administration violated a resolution by Congress that was signed by President Trump that requires the reinstatement of fired workers. Those workers must be reinstated through at least January 30th and paid what they are owed since September 30th.
San Francisco's one step closer to providing reparations to Black residents. The Board of Supervisors voted unanimously this week to establish a reparations fund. There's no money allocated to it yet. Funding is expected to come from donations by individuals, foundations, businesses, and communities. Use of the money would be subject to an approval process and oversight. The money is meant for people or descendants of those who've experienced proven harm in the city.
At 8:16, as the Trump administration promises to strip citizenship from more foreign-born Americans, some people who are working for citizenship have had their interviews canceled without notice. The interview is one of the final steps towards U.S. citizenship. One Northern California immigration attorney says his client was only told the interview would be put back on the calendar at some point, but there is no word on when that could happen.
I've never seen this before. We've been here at our law firm working these types of cases for 25 years, and we've never seen this before. A naturalization exam being canceled outright and not being told when it might be rescheduled. To hear that they're just ignoring those rules, that the statutes and regulations are being ignored, it's quite shocking. And it's something we've never seen before in immigration law.
And in recent weeks, oath ceremonies have also been canceled. Immigration experts warn the lack of notice and explanation raises serious due process concerns.
More people are taking note of rising indigenous artists who are reshaping music while reclaiming identity, language, and history. One of them is from Peru. She is just 23 years old. Her name is Renata Flores. She's an indigenous singer who raps in Quechua, the language of the Incas. In 2022, she was named one of Forbes' most powerful women in Peru. Before that, the New York Times called her the queen of Quechua rap. She says her music lives at the intersection of tradition and modern sound.
I sing, compose, and rap in Quechua, the language of the Inca Empire, and a language that has endured for many years in Latin America. And I'm both transgressive and traditional because I make music that blends new musical trends with the music of my ancestors.
Flores also says her music is a form of resistance. The mission has taken her from Peru to global stages and sparked collaborations with superstars such as Shawn Mendes back home and most recently in Los Angeles. Flores says the journey hasn't been easy, but change is happening. She wants the world to know the vibrancy of Quechua, the most widely spoken indigenous language in Latin America. In minutes, we'll talk with a longtime climate change activist and hip-hop artist who's collaborated with Flores to learn more about how people worldwide are tuning in and taking action.
All right, 8:18 is your time. Let's get back to the traffic center. Sal's been tracking a trouble spot in the South Bay.
Yes, we've had some trouble spots, Andre. Let's go to the peninsula. I think that's what you meant. I was looking at the East Bay, pardon me, I'll get back there. But as Andre said, we've been tracking this trouble spot on 101, getting out of the peninsula and coming to San Francisco because of some earlier issues. It really did slow down traffic. It was an earlier car fire. Northbound 280 at Ocean Geneva, there's a crash, and boy, when I was going to high school, over at Reardon High School, this would have made me late. And you don't want to be late. I think most kids are in school at this time. It's 8:19, but you know what I mean. All right, let's talk about the Bay Bridge. That is backed up all the way out to the Maze. We have mentioned the South Bay. Let's look at it now. It doesn't look too unusual. In fact, that's looking a little better than it did yesterday, although there are still some slowdowns heading to Sunnyvale, Cupertino, and Palo Alto. 8:19. Let's bring in Devin Truby to talk about today's weather.
Hey, good morning, Sal. Let's talk about your day. Everybody in those upper 50s and low 60s with mostly cloudy skies around the area before we get to the next big event. That's going to be a Friday night, late afternoon, early evening rain. That's going to take us into the possibility of some clearing on Saturday morning with cloud coverage before the main event, that second system, Saturday evening and into Sunday. Some tropical moisture moving in, and that is when we are going to go ahead and see Sunday evening wind gusts around 35 miles per hour, possibility of some isolated thunderstorm activity before we make our way into storm system number 3 Tuesday and playing out the rest of the holiday week. Going to be a little bit hectic for holiday travel, messy if you're headed up to the high country, unfortunately, on the roadways probably, as we'll see slushy, icy conditions. And then this storm system, though, will, however, be bringing rain to the areas that have been desperately needing it. As we talk about accumulation numbers, December, normally our wettest month of the year. After we get through that system, on the weekend, we'll probably see a little bit less than an inch of rainfall after the system that plays out Sunday, Monday morning, and into Tuesday. That's when we'll start to see those accumulation numbers pick up more than an inch in downtown San Francisco, 2 to 3 inches in other locations. And we'll finally start to see some snowfall, hopefully in the lower elevations in the Sierra as we push our way towards Christmas Eve and Christmas. And we'll have the bigger picture of totals that more likely resemble what we normally see in the month of December. 5-day forecast showing us those 60 degrees, a little bit cooler this weekend. Last day to clean out those gutters, though. Garcia, Andre.
Thank you so much. Mariah Carey's holiday anthem just lost its global #1 crown. The classic song that snagged the top spot instead.
And winter viruses are spiking across the Bay Area and beyond. New data finds seasonal flu cases are rising, especially here at home in the South Bay. So we're asking you this morning if you have received the flu vaccine. 75% of you say, yep, you've already gotten the shot. At 24%, almost 1 in 4 say nope, and you're not planning on doing it. Just 1% say you will make your way to the pharmacy. Let us know by voting at KTVU.com/vote.
8:25 your time. For the first time in years, Mariah Carey has been dethroned as the Queen of Christmas. All I Want for Christmas Is You has been #1 on the Billboard Global 200 during the holiday season for the last 5 years. But this past Monday, Last Christmas by Wham took the #1 spot. That song was released in December of 1984 and has been a massive hit every year since. It's gone 9 times platinum in the U.S., but Mariah fans don't need to fret. Even though her song isn't #1 on the global chart, it's still topping the U.S. charts. Well, YouTube is planning to pull its music data from the Billboard charts. The decision is in response to a recent change Billboard made to the ranking formula, which adds more weight to paid on-demand streaming compared to free streaming with ads. YouTube says this ignores engagement from fans who don't have a paid subscription. The ranking changes will be seen in charts published on January 17th. Alexa will soon be able to answer your door and talk with visitors and delivery drivers.
Pam Cook is back in studio with this and news from this morning on inflation and dollars and cents.
Yes, I think a lot of people will have some opinions about that Alexa thing. That in just a moment. First, the Consumer Price Index for the month of October was released this morning. It shows inflation is up 2.7% from this time last year, but economists are a little hesitant to weigh in on the numbers this time around because the data is delayed and not quite as complete as usual because of the government shutdown. However, on the news, as the opening bell rang this morning, the index is headed much higher. As that read on inflation, it's still up, prices are up, but the report came in lower than Wall Street expected. So markets headed higher on that report. As a live look at the Dow shows, almost 1 full percentage point, 432 points there. The S&P 500 also up more than 1 full percentage point. The Nasdaq gaining more than 400 points, almost 2%. Also getting help from a really good earnings report from Micron Technology. It's another one of those chip stocks benefiting from AI. Amazon's AI-powered assistant, Alexa, can now answer doors. The AI assistant uses images from Ring doorbells to identify visitors. It can also determine why someone's at your door by chatting with the visitor. Users can also customize how Alexa greets people, accepts deliveries, or handles unexpected visitors. The feature launches today and will work with a 2nd or 3rd generation Ring video doorbell. You also need to have a Ring subscription. Dates straight to your direct messages and shared spaces. Walmart's looking for more truck drivers, and they're offering more money and better equipment. In recent years, companies have been dealing with a shortage of drivers as many are retiring and not many people are pursuing that job. However, Bloomberg reports Walmart is seeing some success in hiring more truck drivers, especially women, after raising the salaries. Starting pay for a Walmart truck driver, depending on experience, can be as high as $115,000 a year. The retailer is also adding new big rigs to make those long drives more comfortable. I'm Pam Cook. That's a look at your dollars and cents.
Pam, thank you much. San Francisco Mayor Daniel Lurie marking his first year in office. The victories he says he has gained as he admits there's still more work to do. Vallejo students in limbo just before Christmas break, why the district is shutting the doors at several elementary schools and why leaders are defending this move. Democrats out with their response this morning to President Trump's address in his first year back in office, how leaders are reacting as we get the expected fact-checking of President Trump's claims.
From KTVU Fox 2 News, this is Mornings on 2.
Welcome back to Mornings on 2. I'm Andre Sr.
Good morning. I'm Gassia Michaeli. It's a busy Thursday, December 18th. Weather is a big part of what's happening today. But then, boy, tomorrow evening, Devin Truby says let's go ahead and hunker down and kind of stay inside and ideally off the roads as well.
Absolutely, Gassia. I give you permission to just watch the holiday movies for the rest of the weekend. You don't have to go out if you don't want to. I think we're going to be looking forward to this rain, though, as we can see, not a lot of green out there, kind of the dark brown on the hillsides, unfortunately, as we take a look at current temperatures, 51 in San Francisco and in Oakland, 54 in Concord, 48 down in the South Bay. That fog still lingering probably till about 11 a.m. this morning. Definitely a late day burn off. We got the dense fog advisory highlighted and the areas in gray on your map around the Bay Area, North Bay. Also, it has been an issue for some visibility this morning. Santa Rosa yet to climb out of about a half a mile. Big improvements, though, we've seen around Oakland and Hayward. This really shouldn't be impacting the traffic too much at this point in time. As we talk about today, everybody in those upper 50s, low 60s, mostly cloudy. So if you want to get around today, good weather to do so. But I don't know about the traffic, and that's why I share the screen with Sal. Hi, Sal.
Hey, Devin, good morning to you. You know what? We do have some traffic there that is going to be slow. We're starting this time in the South Bay. Things are getting better, though, in San Jose, even though there is definitely slow traffic. It seems like the calmest thing right now that we have, pardon me, in the way of traffic with no major issues as you drive through. I also want to mention that if you're driving from Oakland to San Francisco, the Bay Bridge is still full. Let's see if I can load that up for you here. It's having a little trouble, but westbound Bay Bridge is still full, but we're seeing improvement, so things should be improving in the next half hour. 8:33, let's go back to the desk.
Thank you, Sal. This morning, Vallejo School District leaders say they'll shut down 3 elementary schools at the end of this school year.
KTVU's James Torres is live in Vallejo at one of the school sites with the cost-saving measures that officials say will take effect very soon. James?
Yeah, we are just outside of Annie Pennycook Elementary School. This is the last full school day before students head out for a holiday break. We've talked to a number of parents this morning who say they're disappointed by this decision. Some saying they understand about these budget conversations. Others say this was the wrong school to put on that list. Vallejo, of course, the City Unified School District, saying that they needed to do this in order to make some major budget cut decisions, and closing and consolidating school campuses is an easy way to do that. Here's a list of the 3 schools that they've announced that will be closed at the end of this school year. They are Highland Elementary, Lincoln Elementary, and of course, Pennycook Elementary as well. School leaders, they've talked about closures for months now, and that's after last year when the board opted to close another elementary school as well as a middle school. The board says these decisions come after years of rising operational costs and declining student enrollment. We heard from board president John Fox, who released a statement saying in part, quote, "No board member takes these decisions lightly. We carefully examined years of data, listened to our community, and weighed our responsibility to maintain stability in this district for the long term." The district also announcing $32 million in other budget cuts. A big chunk of that is coming to cuts to staffing. All of that, they say, takes effect at the end of this school year. We're live this morning in Vallejo. I'm James Torres, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
Thank you. Today, President Trump hosted 2 Christmas receptions.
And he's signing the $900 billion National Defense Authorization Act. It includes funding the Golden Dome Missile Defense Shield.
Yeah, last night, he addressed the nation, touting his success and bashing the previous administration.
We inherited the worst border anywhere in the world, and we quickly turned it into the strongest border in the history of our country.
The president spoke for 18 minutes while mentioning former President Joe Biden 7 times. President Trump talked about how his administration reduced soaring food and energy costs. But the speech comes as a recent Fox News survey shows 76% of Americans view the nation's economy negatively.
The truth of it is that Americans deserve to be able to have health care, and that which they don't go into bankruptcy in order to be able to afford to care for themselves.
House Republicans narrowly passed a health care bill, but it does not include an extension of the Obamacare tax credits that lowered health insurance premiums for millions of Americans. We interviewed a Georgetown professor who said health care and the economy will likely decide whether Republicans can keep either the House or the Senate in next year's midterm.
Americans do deserve relief because many are suffering economically. Just a week or so ago, I was at a food bank providing food to people, and those people didn't look unhoused. Those look like working class and middle class Americans who were coming in to get necessary groceries leading to the holidays.
The nation's unemployment rate rose to 4.6% last month, the highest level since September of 2021.
Democrats are responding to President Trump's national address last night, in which he said former President Biden handed him a struggling economy. House Democratic leaders held a news conference on Capitol Hill this morning, replying to the president. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries called the president's speech unhinged and untethered from reality and truth.
The cost of living in this great country is far too high. That America is too expensive, that far too many people, working class folks, are struggling to live paycheck to paycheck, can't thrive, can barely survive. That the most important thing that the Congress should be doing is driving down the high cost of living to make life more affordable for everyday Americans.
Democrats also say the refusal by the president and Republican lawmakers to extend Obamacare subsidies will drive up health care costs for millions of Americans in the new year.
San Francisco Mayor Daniel Lurie is reflecting on his first year in office.
I'm not here to say that we don't have challenges, because we do, and I get frustrated just like every other San Franciscan. We have momentum, we have a lot of work to do, but we're going to be relentless.
Well, KTVU sat down with Mayor Lurie for a one-on-one interview. He says it's been a transformational time within the city and that he remains focused on public safety, the drug crisis, and rejuvenating businesses.
We have a lot of focus on downtown, but all of the things that we're doing, first year free, vacant to vibrant, all of these other things are also helping not just downtown recover, but our neighborhoods.
Well, the mayor points to positive signs such as increase in convention bookings and a record-breaking Thanksgiving holiday period at SFO. He says crime is down 30% citywide and 44% in homeless encampments. Mayor Lurie predicts 2026 will be a big year for San Francisco and the Bay Area due to major sporting events, including February's Super Bowl and the World Cup in June and July.
We're getting a first-hand account of what it was like to be part of a chain reaction crash that led to a car flying off the back of a tow truck and onto the BART tracks this week. The incident shut down trains and traffic on 580 for hours. It all began when a tow truck collided with a red pickup. Rolando Gonzalez says he was driving home from Dublin to Hayward along 580 in his pickup when he says his vehicle was hit. Gonzalez says it appeared as though the tow truck driver had been ejected from the truck.
Checked myself, made sure I was okay, yeah. I look out the mirror and then I see the guy on the ground and the vehicle just like, I don't even remember what happened to the vehicle. I just remember the guy and the car on the tracks. He was able to get up, talk, he was conscious, made sure he was okay.
The CHP says it's trying to understand how the car flew off the truck. The winter holiday travel period officially starts in 2 days. This year is expected to be one for the record books. AAA predicting more than 122 million Americans will travel at least 50 miles from home between December 20th and January 1st. It's a 2.2% increase from last year, a trend that's been accelerating since the end of the pandemic.
These are the times of year when people want to go out of town, spend time with family and friends. They definitely try to capitalize and maximize the days they have around the holidays.
Most people will drive. At least 8 million are expected to fly to their destinations, about 200,000 more than last year. Experts advise air travelers to plan ahead, secure their parking early on, and arrive at the airport at least 2 hours before takeoff for domestic flights.
Well, a climate activist using his voice to bring awareness to indigenous communities. We will talk with that rising artist that recently joined Shawn Mendes on a California stage.
Mai himpachapipas mana yakuyuq kawsayqa kanchu.
Yaku tarpuyqa kawsayta tantanam. Yachachisqayki. Hatiway.
Indigenous musicians like Colorado-raised rapper and climate change activist Xutescat Martinez and Quechua pop singer Renata Flores are redefining success in the streaming era by prioritizing community and cultural roots. In his latest collaboration, Xutescat trades lyrics in Spanish and English, calling out ongoing issues ranging from systematic racism to colonialism. At the same time, Bastaya serves as an anthem capturing the current political climate focusing on immigration. Now, earlier this week, we mentioned that Xutescat performed at a Shawn Mendes concert. The move gives indigenous people in North, Central, and South America the chance to bring issues important to the community to the national stage. We welcome this morning Xutescat Martinez. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so first, let's talk about the latest collaboration touching on immigration policies and, of course, the Trump administration.
I think as the son of an indigenous immigrant, the colonial violence that we have seen extended to our communities through violent immigration policy in this country has been something that has affected my life since I was a child. And creative expression through music and through art has been such a powerful vehicle to express so much rage that we feel at the violence of the mass deportations that are taking place in this moment. I think our communities gather around joyful celebrations of our culture and affirmations that we, belong on these lands, that our connection to these lands are much older than this country itself and than the colonial borders that span it.
You know, here in America, we think about things in terms of America, but all North America, including Canada, has faced issues with indigenous people. How important is a voice like yours on the national stage right now at this particular moment in time?
I think it's significant. I think indigenous stories have not been in the hands of indigenous people for so long. Our ability to represent who we are has belonged to colonizers. Since these continents were colonized, we haven't had the autonomy to tell our own stories until really recently. And there's been a resurgence of indigenous storytellers from myself and many incredible indigenous artists from North to South America. And I think that represents a moment that we are in where we can project a vision of ourselves into the future and assert that we belong here now, we belong in the future. And indigenous people aren't just a relic of history, as is so often taught to us in our schools and projected through the media.
And you're getting attention from major artists when they invite you on stage. I want to show viewers a powerful cultural moment at the Hollywood Bowl recently. Shawn Mendes inviting you and Renata Flores, an indigenous rapper from Peru, to join him during his performance of Youth. We talked to Renata about that viral moment. Let's listen to that first and get your comments after.
The beautiful thing about music is that you can do that in concert, collaboration with show and Xutescat too in Los Angeles. And it was an important opportunity to raise our voices.
I want to get, Xutescat, what that moment was like for you on that stage with Shawn Mendes, with Renata Flores.
They built a stage for us in the middle of the Hollywood Bowl, surrounded by the audience, 20,000 people around us. And to have the opportunity, to me, I really feel that the privilege of my platform and my voice as an artist is to be a vessel for the stories of those that came before me, my ancestors, many of those that struggled, that never had the opportunity to tell their stories, to share their perspectives, to pursue their creative vision. And so we're not just there representing ourselves, but our community, our culture, our stories, these movements that connect us, this idea of land back. What does that really mean? And how does that connect us as indigenous people from the North to the South, indigenous people from Latin America that exist and live through migration here in the United States? And it was just such a beautiful opportunity to get to be received and held by that audience, to share our message and to be so celebrated, in that way, and to know that we're doing it not just for ourselves, but all those that came before us.
Xutescat, can you freestyle for us as we wrap up the interview?
I don't know about that.
It's too early in the morning. All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. It's interesting that, at a time like this, we're hearing from more people, at a time when we have issues around immigration, and we are seeing indigenous people hit the national stage from North, Central to South America as well. Xutescat Martinez, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate your time.
8:47 here. Some big changes are on the way for Bay Area weather. A series of rainstorms is expected to start tomorrow, and then that pattern should last through Christmas. The National Weather Service says to expect a small storm tomorrow, then a bigger storm beginning Sunday. In the South Bay, the county is offering sandbags to people who live in areas that are below sea level to prepare for the rain. City of Oakland's also urging residents to stock up on sandbags and to clear their storm drains. Some learned the hard way during the last heavy rains.
The water came in the driveway, down the house, down this side, and took a lot of dirt and stuff with it. I am ready this time. Yes, I am.
And there will be more California Highway Patrol officers out on duty across the Bay Area. The prolonged wet weather, of course, comes during the busy winter holiday travel period. CHP says when conditions are treacherous, just stay home if you can.
It's 8:48, and we have some good news for you. If you're a Bay Bridge driver, things have improved quite a bit. Yesterday at this time, we were sold out. Today, it's much better. One thing that is still pretty slow, though, is the peninsula, 280 and 101. If you're driving, let's say, from San Bruno or Millbrae trying to get to San Francisco, it really does slow down. It really kind of hits a wall right when you get out of South City. Northbound 280 is still slow because they're clearing up that crash at Ocean Geneva. But if you're getting on 280 after Ocean Geneva, maybe near San Jose or Alameda, that area, it's not going to be all that bad heading downtown. 8:49, let's talk about today's weather. Here's Devin.
Yes, not going to be that bad of a day either today for the weather. We're talking about this last dry day for the next 7 days before we move in to our period of wet weather. What do we have? Well, we've got some high pressure down by the California-Mexico border, low pressure up here that is allowing to just trap the moisture and funnel it right into the Bay Area. Talking about our first storm system Friday evening coming in, probably some isolated shower activity in the afternoon, and then Saturday we'll see some clearing in the morning hours and a little bit in the early afternoon, some cloudy conditions there before the system moves in. And then also on Sunday, that's our secondary system, bringing with it wind gusts potentially 30 miles per hour, possibly some isolated thunderstorm activity. That's where we'll start to see some bigger accumulation numbers before the third and final system moving in on Tuesday, impacting us into Wednesday, Christmas Eve, on and off on Christmas. Also most likely going to make for some hectic holiday travel, unfortunately, and wet roadways. However, we desperately do need this rain. The snowpack has been incredibly low, some of the lowest numbers we've seen in the Sierra, but also a lot of these places haven't gotten rain or much rain yet this year. So taking a look at accumulation totals after that first system moves through at the end of the weekend, still shy of about an inch or half an inch in most places, but making that way through that more the forceful system on Monday. Then we'll start to see a little bit more of an inch downtown San Francisco, 2 to 3 inches in other locations. The South Bay just kind of starting to get a little bit of that system. But after the final system, everyone will have a nice soaking, and we will catch up to those numbers that we usually see. Things will be a little bit more on par with the end of December, which is typically our wettest month of the year. Looking at the 5-day forecast, we can see just a bit of a cooler weekend. Wet weather here. What does this mean for those headed to the high country? Unfortunately, snow levels are going up this weekend towards about 9,000 feet. Overnight lows still not really cold enough to conserve some of that snow. We'll have to wait and see what happens for our skiers and snowboarders on the holiday week. Garcia, Andre.
All right. Thank you so much, Devin. Meantime, San Francisco is increasing efforts to crack down on sideshows. New rules just signed into law will increase penalties on those sideshows. Fines increase from $500 to $1,000 for misdemeanor offenses. A sideshow popped up in the city last weekend. It was the first since September when police used drones to help seize 6 dirt bikes and an ATV.
We got kids and seniors walking across the street, and it felt like things were out of control. And what I want everybody to hear is we're on it. SFPD is working diligently to enforce these laws.
While there are stiff consequences for sideshow participants, watching them remains a gray area. In September, the 9th Circuit ruled an Alameda County law restricting spectators is likely unconstitutional. The Santa Cruz Mountains Wine Growers Association forming a new wine heritage district. The district represents businesses across Santa Cruz, Santa Clara, and San Mateo counties. It's part of the Santa Cruz American Viticulture Area and marks California's 5th established improvement district. The president of the Wine Growers Association says he hopes the new district will provide a boost to businesses.
Really a collective benefit for the region to really drive the economic impact for all wineries of the region.
The district is funded by an assessment fee collected from participants based on in-state wine sales. Much of the funds will go towards marketing and development strategies. It is 8:53 as early acceptance letters go out. The money conversation gets real when you join us on the 9. From tuition to housing, we're talking with an expert about how the full price tag of college can come with a surprise. (8:55) now. Oakland City Councilman Ken Houston defending himself and explaining an obscene gesture he made during a tense council meeting. Councilman Houston was seen sticking out his middle finger at people who attended Tuesday night's council hearing on expanding the use of license plate reading cameras in Oakland. It was captured on video and was posted on social media, and now Houston is getting backlash from the community.
During public comment, someone was pointing out the fact that only 20% of Councilmember Houston's district had voted, which meant that only 6,000 people had voted for him. Apparently, he did not like that.
If this is the guy that's representing us as a whole, then we need to do better as a community ourselves.
Houston responded to KTVU in a text saying his gesture was a reaction to a, quote, racially charged environment at that council meeting in which he claims people were making racist remarks about his Latino heritage. Houston represents District 7, which is in the eastern part of Oakland. He is up for re-election in 2028. The Trump administration's State Department says the U.S. will sell more than $10 billion in military equipment to Taiwan. This sale includes medium-range missiles, howitzers, and drones. Experts warn the sale could increase tensions between the U.S. and China. China views Taiwan as its own territory and has warned any attempts to protect its independence would be, quote, doomed to fail.
The U.S. government now admits an air traffic controller and an Army helicopter pilot played a role in a collision that killed 67 people. The crash between an airliner and a Black Hawk helicopter happened over the Potomac River in Washington, D.C. last January. It was the deadliest plane crash on American soil in more than 2 decades. The government's lawyers said in a filing the United States admits that it owed a duty of care to plaintiffs, which it breached, thereby proximately causing the tragic accident. The NTSB will release its full report on the cause of the crash early next year. The Trump Media and Technology Company is merging with a nuclear fusion power company. The all-stock deal is valued at more than $6 billion, signaling a significant pivot for the parent company of the Truth Social platform. The combined company announced it hopes to start construction next year on the world's first utility-scale power plant. Shares of the Trump Media and Technology Group have struggled this year. They surged 20% this morning following news of the partnership.
All right, a new report finds San Francisco's economy took some slight downward trends this fall. The Comptroller's Office reports employment is trending lower compared to this time last year, with tech jobs leading job losses. Downtown foot traffic has been increasing, though, but dipped below pre-pandemic levels in the fall. Hotel occupancy also lost some steam, but the fall is often a lull between summer travel and the holidays. Housing prices continue to trend higher, even though state numbers are flat. Well, Santa Clara is about to restrict street vendors and the sales of illegal merchandise near Levi Stadium before the Super Bowl. The city approved a plan for a clean zone around the stadium, part of the requirements set by the NFL to host the Super Bowl. Starting February 1st, no food or beverage sales or merchandise can be sold on sidewalks. The goal is to keep areas clear and traffic flowing in case of an emergency. The city is also discouraging people who don't have tickets for the Super Bowl from coming to the stadium altogether. Well, we'll be right back here on Mornings on Tuesday night. We're going to get an update on all this fog and when the rain will be returning for us in just 60 seconds.